You were probably taught that you have to drink milk in order to be healthy. It is a good source of calcium and it makes our bones strong.
Milk helps build strong bones, so drink up.
But what if I told you that all you know about milk is a lie? It turns out, you don't need to drink milk to have healthy bones, nor is it the best source of calcium. There are plenty of foods that have more calcium, potassium, or protein than milk. Today, everything we believe about milk is a product of marketing, advertising, and government policies. And this is how the dairy industry lied to the world. Have you ever wondered why humans are the only species that drink milk after childhood, and not just from their own mothers, but from other animals too? But our ancestors did not drink milk after childhood because they lacked the enzyme to digest it, especially milk from other animals. However, as our ancestors began to domesticate animals, they realized that the white juice meant for this baby could also be used for these babies. So, they started to drink it, and by doing so, they forced evolution, and after a couple of thousands of years, they developed the enzyme to break down milk, lactose. However, raw milk has a big problem. It goes bad very quickly and becomes a great habitat for microorganisms, making it unsafe to drink. But in 1862, a Frenchman named Louis Pasteur discovered a process called pasteurization.
Pasteurization, a process that kills off germs in things like milk.
It involves heating raw milk at a certain temperature for a set amount of time to kill all microorganisms in it. But humans didn't stop there. They also discovered that by mixing milk with an enzyme called rennet, they could make cheese. Cheese making began over 7,000 years ago and has become an important part of our diets and culture. In addition to cheese, humans also discovered milk powder in the 19th century. This process allowed milk to be stored for long periods of time without spoiling, making it a convenient and versatile ingredient. Then the war came, First World War. The war changes everything. During wartime, the US government started to send milk products overseas for Allied troops, so the dairy farmers increased their production to meet the demand. Then in 1918, the war ended. The men in uniform came home. Everyone was happy. And suddenly the dairy farmers were left with an extreme oversupply of milk. So, the US government stepped in to save the dairy industry. But instead of telling them to produce less, they started to convince people to drink more. The US Department of Agriculture, USDA, which is a government agency, launched a huge ad campaign, Milk for Health, to promote milk consumption. And it works. In 6 years, milk consumption rose by 27%. But, when the Great Depression came, milk prices dropped. The farmer went on strike and started to pour gallons and gallons of milk into the street to artificially raise the price. So, the US government again stepped in. Congress passed a bill that tells that if the production cost of milk is higher than the market price, the government will pay for the remaining amount. So, the farmer went back to their farm and keep producing. They also form an organization, the National Dairy Council, where the farmer put a fixed rate of their income, and then the National Dairy Council used the amount to promote milk. At that time, milk was everywhere, in poems, songs, books, school, and obviously advertisements. The National Dairy Council also partners with USDA. Together, their efforts extended beyond the mere promotion of milk, as they started to promote the consumption of milk based on scientific evidence. The National Dairy Council started to give donations to colleges, and in exchange, the colleges start to publish so-called research like this. Between these two rats, the first one didn't drink milk, but the other one drank milk. And this really helps. Experts started to recommend children to drink more and more milk.
Never enough milk to go around.
By 1937, a child was meant to drink 1 quart of milk a day. Then another war broke out. And this time more farmers got into the milk industry to produce milk for him. And this war ended too. So the same relationship between farmers and the government repeats again. Moreover, in the 1970s, Jimmy Carter's government started to buy out extra milk that nobody wanted. But the problem is milk spoils really fast, so instead of buying milk, the government started to buy cheese, butter, and powdered milk. As they are easy to store and with certain conditions, they have a huge lifespan. Suddenly the pocket of the dairy farmer was full of cash. So they started to produce more because the government will buy the extra milk from them. And quality of this product was quite low, because now their customer is the government. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan became the 40th President of the United States. And his cabinet has a great problem to deal with. Government cheese. By buying milk products from the farmer for years, the government ends up with many caves full of processed cheese. And the cheese started to turn gross.
We've got 60 million of these. We can't find a market for it.
At one point, one official said to dump the cheese in the ocean will be the best solution. But, at last, Reagan decided to give those cheeses for free to the American poor.
Have you ever had government cheese?
Government cheese make the best grilled cheese you'd have never had in your life.
In 1983, the dairy industry lobbied Congress, and eventually, Congress passed a bill called Dairy Checkoff. Another scheme where the farmers will put money that will be used for advertising, research, and nutrition education. And that's how we get campaigns like this. And the 90s unforgettable Got Milk campaign.
Who shot Alexander Hamilton? Excuse me?
Got milk?
In every magazine in the 90s, you will see this. Celebrities with a milk mustache. And it became a cool thing because they are promoting a healthy alternative to this sugary soda and sports drink. Almost every celebrity takes part in these ads and magazine photos, and they do it at a way cheaper rate. They started to tell people that milk makes strong bones. It has calcium, vitamin, and other nutrients. Even milk helps to lose weight.
Milk your diet. Lose weight.
And we become familiar with this slogan.
Milk. It does a body good.
But how much of it's are true? Multiple research suggests that milk doesn't make strong bones.
There's a strong link between dairy foods and autoimmune diseases. And so that can show itself up as excessive production of mucus and exacerbation of asthma in kids who are prone to that, and even adults. And also there's an association between dairy foods and multiple sclerosis and type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune disease, and other rheumatologic problems.
Even this Harvard study tells that milk increases the risk of hip fracture in men by 7%. Meanwhile, many studies discovered that milk increases cancer risk.
Human on Earth who actually needs the milk of a cow any more than they need the milk of a giraffe or a mouse.
Even though milk consumption raises health concerns, the government is still promoting it. This video tells us how far government can go to save certain industries. And how it can be legal that USDA, the same government agency which is responsible for making nutrition guidelines, also playing part in all these ad campaigns. Luckily, milk consumption is decreasing in many countries around the world. For example, in the United States, the amount of milk being consumed has gone down by 40% since the 1970s, and in the UK, it's gone down by 50% during the same time period. It's clear that society is becoming more conscious about the impact of their food choices. And that's a step in the right direction towards a healthier and more sustainable future.